I just wanted to add a brief postscript to my last video on my 2019 convention review. If you hear somebody whining in the background, it's my dog because she doesn't like pausing during a walk. Nilla, say hi. Okay, so I'm gonna make this really quick. The first impression, other than seeing the big jwdonate.org poster as you walked into the building, was the number of attendants. It was pretty crazy. They wear these big bright orange badges and they were everywhere. And I don't know, I want to just add this caveat that perhaps I'm projecting, but as an observer, it felt a little paranoid, like so many attendants, and they're watching everybody walk around, and I don't know, it just seemed like a lot more attendance than I've ever seen in years past. And sure, your kid gets lost at the convention, and I'm sure, like, as a parent, Nilla, she's eating grass. I'm sure as like a parent, if your kid gets lost at the convention, being able to go up to attendant and say my kid got lost or whatever, that's a good thing. I don't like these glasses. So okay, lots of attendance. The second observation that happened after I got home from the convention was total fatigue. I was so tired after the convention, and I think I put that in like the description of my last video, but when I got home, it was like an hour drive home, I hardcore crashed. It was actually kind of bizarre because it wasn't like I exerted any physical energy during the day. I just sat in a chair all day and walked around a little during lunch. But I was like super hungry when I got home, and then I just like crashed for 12 hours and I woke up the next day still kind of tired. And what that tells me is I was in an environment that was totally de-energizing. Like if you're around someone who is lying to you, that's very de-energizing. It literally makes your muscles go weak. So those are my final two observations. And then the other thing I just kind of wanted to comment on, because I love analogies and I live here in Wisconsin, and the scenery here in this state I grew up in has really changed over the years as agriculture has become big business. And that is, Wisconsin in particular has really gone from being a small family farm kind of community to these big agribusiness, as I like to call them, concentration camp cow farms or chicken farms. And I don't know if I'm gonna do justice in like explaining this, but these huge concentration camp farms are protected by their lobbyists and the federal government in such a way that you, the public, or a journalist, or just a general consumer, you are not allowed to go on their property and film what is going on behind those closed doors. I vaguely remember watching a documentary a few years ago where someone had like an undercover camera showing the deplorable, abusive, disgusting conditions going on in these farms. And oh, look, the pelicans are here. It's interesting. I don't know if you probably can't see it, but here on Lake Michigan, like in the last 5 years, we've had these California white pelicans come and visit us, and it's like one of my favorite times of the year. So anyway, sorry. Have you ever seen the movie Up? It's like one of my favorite movies. It's a cartoon, and they have this dog, and his name is Doug. And whenever there's a squirrel, he's like having a conversation with his owner, and he's like, "Squirrel! Oh look, there's another pelican." That is how I am. I'm like super ADHD, and I'm like, it sometimes makes friendships a little difficult because I get so distracted. I'm like, squirrel. All right, so back to the concentration camp farm situation. I'm not calling Watchtower a concentration camp agri-farm, but I kind of am because of how they behave. Meaning, if they had nothing to be ashamed of, like their shunning policies, or they were like proud to be completely transparent, then they would actually welcome outside journalists, I'm not a journalist, but you know what I'm saying, they would welcome the outside to come in and give their observations because they would have nothing to be ashamed of. But no, they don't want anything to taint their image. And it reminds me of that scripture where Jesus says to the Pharisees, you shine the outside of the cup, but inside are filthy and disgusting things. And I think it's an appropriate illustration for what's going on today in many high control, organized religions. And yeah, I just wanted to add that. And so kind of in line with that, even though Jesus would give sermons to very large crowds where there were literally thousands and thousands of people, if you kind of look at the model, especially once Paul came on the scene and it was like the home church model, I think the lesson for us today is to really stay low and keep things small. Because the bigger you get, the more room there is for charismatic, narcissistic leaders to come in and take over the group for themselves because they see it as business opportunities. And so what that looks like in my life now as I practice my faith is I participate in small groups, and that works for me. Now, some of you watching might like love the big group thing where you have like the big Jesus rock band, and that's fine. That's your preference, that's your taste. But like I said before, even just seeing like the farms here in Wisconsin go from like the small family farm where you can actually control your product that you're putting out, like your food. Once it gets big like that, it's really hard to trace where contamination comes from because you're working with such a large, you're just operating at such a huge capacity. All right, well, I hope you're having a great day. Enjoy nature if you can, and I'll talk to y'all later. Ciao for now.